should be interesting.
Our little pregame stuff.
Like, this should be interesting.
Hey people.
What up?
Hey,
Episode 11.
Podcast land is what we call it.
Podcast land. Oh, that was loud. I don't know how loud that was on that, but whatever. This should be interesting. I'm definitely I'm gonna mention it before we even start. You ready?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds for him.
All right. Oh, you know, and this is the perfect angle. I feel like this is the perfect angle for the video. It's just,
yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of ridiculous.
No, I love the idea.
All right. Oh man. Pre-show. Can't believe he hit him like that.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
You think all those matchups, practicing with Djokovic, helped him on his run?
I guess. I don't know. It was a weird finish to the tournament.
So there's that.
Put that on. Sorry.
No, I'm just letting you know that works.
I have to do the final calculations of my picks. Spread the word.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start, and then I'll see you right here. Just wave behind me like this, and then
I'm good to go. So you can start whenever.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, pre-show. Anyway, sorry.
Do this.
Oh man. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of In the Basement with Sean and the Heckler. And you know what that means? That means it's Monday. We're in Studio A, and you're with me, DK. They call me the Heckler. And with me, as always, in Studio A is Sean. And this week, it's a little different. I mean, I know you guys out there in podcast land can't see this, but I have my phone right now on the motherboard, I guess you would call it, the board, and recording, possibly to be on YouTube later today. But we're gonna see how that goes.
All that means is be very excited, people.
We're gonna wave. We're waving. You know, and basically, if the voices don't hook up very well, let's just say we might have voices coming from SoundCloud with images on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get any better than that.
Yep.
Anyway, Sean has something important to start us off with.
Well,
After a long week of football, we're starting off with something different.
Yes, and there's a reason for this. I won't say it's as important as the Super Bowl.
I can't wait, by the way, to start participating in this.
It's gonna be fun. It was the Australian Open. I talked about it last week.
We're gonna nerd out.
Mentioned it the past 2 weeks. The Australian Open is over. It was finished early Sunday morning, or if you want to call it late Saturday night. The final.
Either is right.
one of the finalists was really a no-brainer throughout the entire tournament. His name is Rafael Nadal.
Yeah.
He is
I actually watched that semifinal between him and Federer.
It's a great match.
And after the first set,
yeah,
I thought it was going to be another, maybe classic 5-set match or a struggle. But
so did I.
I think after Nadal kind of broke him in that second set, he just kind of mentally kind of broke. I just the body language. The body language didn't change, but you could tell his pace was a little bit slower on the backhands.
Well, I think even the body language of Federer in that second set, once he was broken, he kind of looked at his box like, what more can I do to beat this guy? I mean, Federer did not play bad against Nadal. Nadal played a great match, but that's what it comes down to in those matchups of Federer and Nadal, and I posted on the Facebook page for all the people to watch it. I'm glad you watched it.
I saw that. I was watching that online. Eventually, I did have to go to bed.
So did I. I mean, I recorded. I watched the first 2 sets, and I fell asleep, and I watched the rest of it the next morning. But it was a good match. I mean, Rafa Fed is always fun to watch. But Rafa did end up taking that in straight sets, which was kind of a surprise. Federer had been playing really well. You thought he would put up a better fight. But that was not the surprise of the semifinals, really.
By a long shot, not the surprise.
Yeah, the surprise was that Novak Djokovic didn't even make it into the semis. He made it to the quarters, and he came up across Stanislas Wawrinka, the other Swiss tennis player, Roger Federer being the more known Swiss player. Wawrinka, in his own right, he was the number 8 ranked player in the Aussie Open, so top 10 player, not not out of his league with these top players, but he took Djokovic to school. I mean, really played him well. I watched the entirety of that match, and Wawrinka was out hitting Djokovic, which hardly ever happens. I mean, Novak, he's in the discussion of one of the best tennis players of all time already, and he's still like 20.
For those that aren't really familiar with tennis, is Wawrinka? He's the guy who practices with Djokovic, right?
Yeah, he's one of his hitting partners. Yes, which is crazy.
I was hanging out with my brother this weekend on Sunday, and I was saying that to him. He lives in San Jose, so I was down there. Oh, he's up there, down there, in San Jose. Anyway,
I never know. It's in California.
He was wondering if he's Swiss, why isn't he Federer's hitting partner? And I really had no answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It's everyone changes hitting partners every now and then.
Okay, so it's not one of those like he's been my hitting partner for like 10, 15 years. Like it's usually like a year or two here and there, and then
it's more the thing that you're kind of thinking that more of teammates. Like they're from the same country, they're teammates.
Oh yeah,
That only happens in the Davis Cup, which is a big tennis tournament, and you represent your country.
Fair enough.
And that's where Federer and Wawrinka. I mean, Federer and Wawrinka are great friends. They've known each other their entire careers. But the hitting partners just comes into play of who's free, what the scheduling's like, who you're comfortable with practicing with. So that's why he's Joker's hitting partner, not Federer's. I think Federer just uses his coach. I mean, he hardly ever goes out of his box, and he's a very comfortable player. But the surprise, Djokovic, not even making the semifinals. He was a favorite to at least make the finals. I had him in the finals against Rafa in my bracket. But he was taken down by Wawrinka and Tomas Berdych, another young up-and-comer who's been around a little while and kind of making his name. He's the number 7 seed. Him and Wawrinka played in the semis. A decent match, not great. Decent match. They're both big hitters.
Eventually when I start doing this, you're gonna have to like reintroduce me to the ranks of like 4 through like 10.
Well, and that's the important part is it just changed after this championship because of something huge that happened. But yeah, we'll go over that. Don't worry.
Because
by the French Open, you'll know.
Because like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Like back in like and sorry
What's back in the day?
And I was gonna say, and sorry when I say this if it's gonna be like, whoa, back in the day. But like wow. You know what, guys out there, I'm laughing right now because as I'm gonna say this, in my mind I'm like, F&A, like
yeah, of course.
It's Jim Courier and like Michael Chang and like
before my time.
Andre Agassi, like young Pete Sampras type Yvonne Lendl type of time. Mm-hmm. I knew, 1 through 10.
Yeah, of course. That's all you need.
And maybe 11 because maybe that was someone that was right outside the top 10 that you need to know about.
Yeah.
And then other than that, you're just like, I don't know. And these days, I basically know Nadal, Federer, Andy Murray, and Djokovic.
That's the big 4. That's
and
really all you need
other
to
than
know.
that, it's like Serena Williams and
Sharapova. Sharapova.
Sharapova. Arankovic.
Azarenka.
Azarenka.
You can call her Vika.
I don't know. I think my brother said he could tell that she gave up too when she was losing. Like her body language is visibly like obvious that she gave up. And then other than that, I know the Bryan twins.
That's pretty good. That's more than most people know. Most people don't know about the Bryan brothers. But no, we'll go over that much closer to the French Open. But the rankings are going to change because Wawrinka ended up taking down Berdych, and in the final it was Rafa against Wawrinka.
Yeah.
Now that matchup had I think 12 or 13 times, and Rafa had never dropped a set to Wawrinka. Not only had he not lost a match to him, had not dropped a set to Wawrinka. So me, being the smart one, I slept that night and waited till the morning to watch. I recorded the match, and I didn't watch it live.
Okay.
And I woke up, and I watched the match, and Wawrinka took the first set.
Oh.
And I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, this could be different. Now, anyone who wasn't following the tournament, Nadal had this horrible blister on his left hand. He's a left-handed player.
Yeah, I saw that on the Sports Center.
Their little recap or whatever.
Whatever. It looked pretty gross.
He had a very nasty blister, and the bad part was of where it was located. It was not an easy blister to cover.
Where was it?
Well, for the video, it was like right there on his left hand, right at the base, right there, which makes it hard to grip.
Oh, sorry, right there.
On the serve, he was saying he felt like he was losing the racket because the covering of the blister was taken up. So I mean, he was playing through. He was playing through pain, playing through stuff, and he still made the finals.
Oh man!
But he dropped the first set to Wawrinka, and I was sitting there like, okay, this is surprising because I expected Rafa to run through the match and win in straight sets and win his 14th major.
Yeah, of course.
That didn't happen. In the second set, Nadal pulled his back, and it was pretty bad. He was grimacing, and he looked very uncomfortable. He had an injury timeout at the end of the second set, and after that it kind of went downhill. He did win the third set, which is just a shock. I mean, he was so injured and still won the third set. I mean, Rafa's a warrior, but then Wawrinka took the fourth set, and his reaction after the match, all those famous Djokovic and Nadal and Federer, whenever they win the championship, they fall to the ground, all this stuff. Wawrinka kind of just stood there and was like, "Did that just happen? Wait, did that really just happen?" And that was the shared belief amongst most tennis fans, most tennis experts. No one really even saw Wawrinka making the semis.
Well, that's why you love sports, though,
exactly.
Because that's like such an honest reaction.
Exactly, and that's why you play the game. Is for stuff like that to happen.
You can't stage stuff like that.
No, and I really did. I thought it was staged for Rafa. I thought the stage was set for his 14th major. It would have been his second career Grand Slam, winning a Grand Slam twice.
and once again, that's why they play, right?
That's why they do it. And it was amazing. I'm very happy for Wawrinka. I've always been a fan of his. His first Grand Slam major, the first Grand Slam champion not named Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, or Murray in almost 5 years.
Wow,
that's insane.
I'll ask you this, since you're obviously a little bit deeper into tennis.
Yeah.
Does that say more about the dominance of those four, or four, right?
Yeah.
Or does it say more that the other 5 through, say, 50, right, are just, 5 through 30. Mm-hmm. The other 5 through 30 are just not nearly as good as they were 10, 15 years ago.
Much more about the dominance of the big four.
You think so? You think the talent pool of, like, the average, really, really, really good ATP player that makes it so okay.
Yeah. So he's a great example.
He is an example of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just as excellent as they have ever been, if not better. Mm-hmm. But you're saying the other four dominating is just that much more dominant in their peak years.
If David Ferrer, if Juan Martín del Potro, if Stan Wawrinka, if Tomas Berdych played in any other era without Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, or Murray, they'd have the type of championships that the other guys would have. Men's tennis is really good right now in singles. It has been for a few years.
Fair enough.
That's how good Federer has been in his prime. That's how great Nadal has been. That's how good Djokovic has been in the last 3 or 4 years. And Murray, with his breakthrough, he's got two titles now. He won the Olympics. Those four are, they will go down when Murray and Djokovic are done. They'll be in the discussion with Federer and Nadal as greatest tennis players.
I'm glad that Murray broke through, though.
I am too.
Because he's one of those guys where when I watch a major on TV, and he's in the discussion, the crowds are a little bit more amped up, a little bit more. There's a little more electricity in the crowd.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not, especially Wimbledon, but even if it's not Wimbledon, the crowd is still so ardently in support of Andy Murray when he wasn't a major winner yet. Like I think he was akin to almost Phil Mickelson, where it's like you just want to see him, win a major, and then he finally won one, and it was, I can only imagine what it felt like to win Wimbledon as an Englishman.
I can't even imagine. I don't know what he was.
I feel like he had so much joy that Tim Henman felt that joy. You know what I mean? That kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
That kind of thing.
No, and I was just as happy as anyone for Murray to break through. But to your question, it's a dominant Big Four. There's a reason they're always around. They're outstanding tennis players. But the field has caught up. This championship tells you everything. The last guy to win a major was Juan Martín del Potro at the U.S. Open. I believe it was either 08 or 09. I think it was 08, the 08 U.S. Open. But there are other really good guys. Isner, you ask any of the Big Four, I think Isner has the best serve in all of tennis. There are some really good players out there that are making a name for themselves. A guy like Gael Monfils, he was in the top 5 a few years ago, fell out, and now he's back. He's number 7. There's a really good top 10 ranking right now, and things are going to change because Wawrinka just won.
These are up to date right here.
And with him winning, if you look at that list that you just pulled up there, DK, he's number 3. He pulled himself up to number 3. He was 8.
He was 8 in the world.
He was the 8th seed and he jumped up to 3. Now that's unheard of. In men's tennis, to break the top 4 is outstanding, but to get up to that number 3 spot is crazy.
So in this field, right? And I would say the field would be I know that is it Va or Wa?
You're supposed to say Wawrinka, but it's spelled W-A-W.
Okay, so Wawrinka.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm gonna get into it, might as well start saying it right.
Oh yeah.
Wawrinka goes up to 3, but and no disrespect to him, but I'll say the field is from 3 down, and I guess you have to include Roger Federer in the field now.
Absolutely.
The field is now a lot of people, and the elite is gonna be I'm gonna say Nadal and Djokovic at this point.
Yeah, I'd add Murray.
Add Murray?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he a 2B or is he a clear cut 3?
Clear cut 3.
Okay, so
he had a bad tournament.
So 1, 2, 3, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray. Do you put Federer at 4, or is he a 5 now behind, say, Federer or?
No, I think Federer is either 7 or 8. I'm not that displeased with that. I think Delpo is aptly suited.
So the top 10 then in the up to date rankings are number 1 Roger Federer. Number 2,
number 1, Rafa. Rafa's number 1.
Oh, so, wow! I even looked at Rafa.
Roger, it happened.
Sorry, sorry guys out there. Number 1, Rafael Nadal. Number 2, Novak Djokovic. Number 3, Stanislaus Wawrinka. Wow, that's gonna be.
Stan the man.
Number 4, Juan Martín del Potro.
6'5", 6'6", I think.
Wasn't as good as say you or Brandon O'Shea might have said it, but I tried.
Martín del Campo.
Yeah, right. Number 5, rounding out the top 5 so far, and halfway is David Ferrer.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is Andy Murray. Number 7 is Thomas Berdych.
Tomas Berdych.
You
call him the Birdman.
The Birdman. I don't think I'm going to. Number 8, Roger Federer. Number 9, Richard Gasquet.
Gasquet.
Richard
Gasquet, the Frenchman.
Richard Gasquet. You know what? I went the other way.
Yeah. I can't even hear you say number 10, though.
10. You know what? I feel like I know how to say this because I feel like I heard it.
You heard his name.
It says Joe Wilfred. Is it Songa?
Songa.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, I was like.
Joe Willie, too.
Joe. And just outside the top 10, the 3 outside are 11 Milos Raonic.
Milos Raonic.
Raonic. Oh my gosh, that's.
That one's tough.
F that name.
The Canadian.
Number 12 is Tommy Haas.
Yep.
I know I got that right.
Been around for a while.
And number 13 is John Isner.
Isner.
So those are the 3 guys trying to get into the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't even know where I'm gonna go with this here.
Well, you start talking about the elite. Nadal,
that's right.
Nadal and Djokovic are definitely the elite.
So,
I'd put Murray right outside.
So out of the field,
yeah.
Do you think the field's caught up, like you said?
A considerable amount.
How big is the gap still?
The gap between Nadal and Joker and then Murray right beneath him is very small. I mean, Murray's right there in pretty much every major. I think Delpo, Ferrer, Berdych, Wawrinka, they're all kind of in there. I think Federer jumps into that just because it's Roger Federer. And then I think you got guys like Gasquet, Songa, and Raonic that could very easily be a top 6 player. Joe Willie just was, I believe. He was not that long ago, I think the 6 or 7 seed. There are really good guys. I mean, that top 10 is very tough to crack. There's good guys in the 20s, too. I mean, like Tommy Robredo, he's been around a while. Fabio Fognini, Mikhail Yuzhny. There are guys that can easily jump up in that top 10. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament when you get like the 7 or 8 seeds are good teams as well. Like they could jump up and be a 2 or 3 seed. It's a lot like what we have in men's singles right now in tennis. There are a lot of really good players out there.
You know, I'm kind of sad. It kind of little tear down my down my eyes. I look at this top 50, 30, because other than John Isner,
yeah, not many Americans.
You got Sam Querrey at 49.
Querrey played really well at the Aussie Open,
and I recognize his name.
Yeah.
And you got Donald Young, who I have no idea who that is, at 79.
Young lefty.
And Bradley Klon at 82.
Yeah.
Jack Sock. Sounds good. Oh my God, I don't even know.
Sock's on his way up.
89.
And then Jr. We got Michael
97
Russell.
and 98 is Michael Russell and Bogomov Jr.
Yep.
And number 100 is Tim
Smishek. And there's also Ryan Harrison, too. He could crack the top 100. It's not a great time for American tennis right now. Isner's our best bet.
Man. I remember when American tennis was like littered all over the top 10.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's just, like I said, a little tear down my eye.
But the best part about it is on the women's side, Serena's still number 1, even though she got knocked out in the Aussie. Americans can always have that to cling to. But just to wrap up, it was a terrific Australian Open. Lots of surprises. I ended up going 79 for 127 on my picks.
That's insane, dude.
That comes out 62%.
Okay. Out of the 79 that you got,
Yeah.
how many did you get right out of the top 8 or the?
Well, I got 8 out of the 16. 8 out of the Sweet
Okay,
16.
so
I got 6 out of the final 8.
Dude, wow.
I got 2 of the final 4
What?
because just crazy stuff happening. I had Rafa in the final. I had Novak in the final. Rafa made it, but Wawrinka won, and then Wawrinka won it all. I had Rafa winning it all. So I missed the champion. I had Nadal in the final.
That's ridiculous. Though.
Yeah, I mean it was fun to do, fun to keep up with. Lots of crazy stuff happened. I mean, lots of upsets, especially on the women's side. It was a nuts tournament. Federer played really well. I was really happy with his performance. Rafa, battling through the injuries he did, was terrific to watch. Novak, I'm sure he's going to be pretty upset. I would already peg him as the early favorite to win the French just because of how upset he was after losing.
And that's the next one, right? The French.
Yeah, the French is the next one. That's a couple months away.
And
that's why I love the Aussie Open. It's kind of isolated, but there are good things to come this year in men's tennis. It's going to be terrific. And now that I know I've gotten DK into tennis a little bit more, we're gonna do another one of these bracket things. Come roll on, get us time.
I feel like I'm almost getting suckered into or get rolled here.
Oh no, there's no roll. There's no roll. You're gonna do really well.
I'm gonna do like X well, and then you're gonna get like way better than 79 out of 120 something.
I'll let you look at my bracket first, just to make sure you're not doing anything outlandish. But that's gonna wrap it up for the Australian Open. It was a great tournament. It was great fun to watch. I was going to get to a little NBA, but I want to go full Super Bowl the rest of the time, and I'm going to hand it over to DK. We'll do an NBA kind of like a mid-season report probably next weekend, not too long, but
for
just
sure.
Go over some things.
For sure.
But I turn it over to my partner now, DK, for some Super Bowl talk.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we'll have full Super Bowl coverage by us, Sean and the Heckler.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Yeah.
Right, sorry, I went a little long.
No, whatever.
But I was pretty happy with 79 for 100.
No, for sure. I'd rather have a conversation about that than
exactly. And you know more tennis than you think you do.
No,
you do a lot of those names.
I do know tennis. I just don't watch it enough anymore. I used to literally just sit there and like watch.
It's becoming more fun to watch. The better the players, the more fun it is to watch. So get back into it.
All right. Did you want to lead in with the hay here for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, let's do it. Give me a second to come up with something fun.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You could.
I got it. It's not gonna be as good as last time, but I'll get you. I'll lead you in.
All right.
I'll lead in. I'll throw it right to you.
All right. Give it a second for a little pause.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted you to be like, do wop wop.
You can give me pointers. I can do whatever. No, that's my lead. But here's the
man. Thanks, Sean. Anyway, so this is the Super Bowl preview that we're giving here. And I know, you guys have probably been inundated with nothing but Super Bowl previews. But unlike everybody else, we have the best Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, this is the most important.
Because ours is fun. It's not all serious. We're not gonna talk about Richard Sherman or him being a thug or anything like that. Because look, as I say that, I only say that because, as everyone knows out there in the basement with Sean the Heckler land out there in podcast land, we like to look at the ESPN page for football and read the little headlines and you either make fun of them or agree with them. And right now, I don't know what it was yesterday or the day before, but today, I'm guessing it's the same thing, is a picture of the Super Bowl Media Day, and Richard Sherman is behind the mic, couple mics, and he looks like either finished saying something or he's listening to someone finishing a question, and the next to it in the little box it says it's personal, and the line the little was a catchphrase, the lead in, it says, is Richard Sherman a hero or a loudmouth with a question mark? And then the answer depends on your point of view. Now, no duh.
Yeah.
I love ESPN, and I strive to one day maybe work for the family of networks and live a comfortable life doing random things like this. But come on, really? Is that really like an in-depth question? And the answer is no. And that's the problem with Super Bowl week, or the weeks, the 2 weeks that we have leading up to Super Bowl. Should be a week, but that's a different story. what it comes down to, I mean, the easy way of putting Super Bowl preview is this. It comes down to the number one defense in the NFL versus the number one offense in the last, 15, 20, 30 years in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, who's going to win the chess match? Is it going to be the Denver Broncos and their offensive scheme and Peyton Manning and the receivers and the weapons and the film session? And we've all seen the film session highlighted on ESPN where, they talk to Peyton Manning and Peyton Manning's, he says really mundane things and the coaching staff, they interview the coaches and he's like, oh, he's like a coach in the room. And then there was the one where they interviewed all 4 or 5 of the receivers by themselves.
Yeah.
And there's some film sessions where it's just the receivers and Peyton Manning. Who else does that? You know what I mean?
Not many people.
And if you do, how many coaches would just trust you to have a productive meeting? You know what I mean? No offense to any NFL players. I know they're all professionals. But come on.
Some are more professional.
Six of you guys just left your own druthers in the film room. I'm sure you're watching a little bit of film, but probably not that much. Probably goofing around a little bit. But I'm pretty sure Peyton Manning is probably more strict than any of the coaching staff. Well, I mean, my personal opinion is this. I think Denver wins, and it's not because, Richard Sherman, you're a bad person, I want you to lose. No, you know what, he's a great DB. Probably one of the best DBs in the league, if not the best. It's always arguable. Best is always, arbitrary. But I think it comes down to the fact that Peyton Manning is just that much better than everybody else on the field, on either side of the ball. And Peyton Manning is going to figure out a way in those film sessions to come up with a game plan to beat the Seattle Seahawks. And I was watching NFL Live today before I came here, and
good show. I
have to agree with Mark Schlereth. They're just going to use the rubs across the middle. And someone said, you mean those picks? He goes, no, picks are illegal.
Yep.
Rubs are not illegal.
Rubs are not
illegal. But I mean, I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
They have 4 receivers, legitimate receivers, and they have Julius Thomas as their tight end. You really think that Richard Sherman is going to be left to Demaryius Thomas and they're just going to run routes with Demaryius Thomas that don't involve having an underneath pick with Wes Walker, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas setting a big-bodied pick. And, sure, I guarantee you that throughout the course of the Super Bowl, there's going to be a flag or two saying offensive interference, illegal pick. There has to be. They're going to be running those all game. But just like holding in the trenches, there's certain things you can do on picks that the refs let you do. If you happen to look like you're still running the route and you just kind of rub off the shoulder, that's okay. If you sit there and set an NBA pick, obviously the flag is going to be thrown.
A Kevin Garnett pick.
Exactly. A Kevin Garnett pick. An old school 1980s just shoulder, concussion kind of pick. But it's like everything else in the NFL. You hold on the inside of your shoulders, it's not holding. You get on the outside of the shoulders, it's holding every time. You ride the receiver for 7 yards, but you don't lose contact. They give you the extra 2 yards. You lose contact, and then you reach contact. It's 5-yard interference. It's just how you look at it. Mm-hmm. So Seattle's going to win a lot of those battles, but at the same time, there's going to be too much open space underneath all that coverage. You know what I mean? I feel like the thing that people aren't talking about is, yes, the front 7 of the Seahawks are very athletic, very fast, very young, and talented. But the linebackers haven't been tested like they're going to be tested on Sunday. Because Peyton Manning's no fool. It's not like he came into, Monday after the NFC Championship game or the championship weekend and it was like, all right, let's see what the secondary of the Seahawks does. And, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Come on. Are you kidding me? I'm almost guaranteeing that when the playoffs started, that Peyton Manning, in his mind, compartmentalized, in the crevices that's scary for me to think about.
Yeah.
He had, if we face Seattle in the Super Bowl, this is what I'm going to pick apart. If we face the 49ers, this is what I'm going to pick apart. If we face the Saints, this is what, his mind works that way. So I'm guaranteeing you he already had some ideas about what he wanted to do against the Seattle defense. And then when he saw the way they played against the Saints, which is kind of a similar offense as the Broncos, and then the way they played against the Niners, which would be a variation of what the Broncos could do on Sunday as the read option with Peyton, not really running, more like throwing to the tight end. They saw that. What I think that's going to happen is the Broncos are going to come out in a 4 wide receiver, 1 back set, and it's going to be that variation all day. 4 receivers, 1 back in the backfield, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, a back in the backfield, 3, 1, 1, whatever it's going to be. They're going to make the linebackers cover everyone. And they're going to be like, you guys can do one-on-one and take away whoever you want in the secondary, but we're going to make those 4 linebackers go backwards and side to side more than they've ever gone before. And I think that's where they beat them, in that area of the field.
Completely agree. 100% agree. I mean, Seattle has weapons on defense, and not a lot of teams in the NFL have weapons on defense. They have solid defensive players.
Oh, yeah.
They have guys who can cover people, but Seattle has weapons. Earl Thomas is a weapon. Richard Sherman's a weapon.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner's a weapon.
Yep.
Anyone on the defensive line, especially at the middle, they're weapons.
Yep.
They get to the quarterback. They get to the ball. They're ball hawks. They hit hard. They're the Legion of Boom. They jump high. They got big corners. They have weapons on defense. There's no offense in the NFL that has more weapons than the Denver Broncos. Like we've been saying all year, they have a 3-headed monster running back. One of them doesn't even play anymore. Hillman doesn't see the field because the other 2 are so good.
And he'd be a starter if not a immediately off the bench guy.
Or 1B kind of guy on any of the other teams. They have 2 legitimate running backs. I mean, Noshawn Moreno's been out of his mind, and Monte Ball.
Yeah.
He has the NCAA record for most touchdowns.
Hillman would be like Kendall Hunter anywhere else.
Yeah, pretty much. He'd be that kind of guy. And then the receiving core. I mean, I would take Denver's receiving core over just about anyone in the NFL. I'm kind of partial to the New York Giants, even though Hakeem Nicks had a bad year this year. But, I mean, you look at Demaryius Thomas, he's a number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. But you look at Eric Decker, he's a number 1 on maybe 25 teams in the NFL.
And not to mention Wes Welker's a number 1 anywhere else.
Oh, Wes Welker's one of the best receivers to ever play the game. He's without a doubt, he's the best slot receiver to play the game, but he can play out wide too. He's proven in the past. I mean, those 3 guys alone. And then you add the guy that literally, DK, no one heard of this guy before the season. No one knew a thing about him. He had played on the team last year, but really never saw the field. I think there was something like 16 plays he got on the field last year, which is nothing. Julius Thomas he's thrown his hat into the discussion of best tight end in football. Jimmy Graham's up there. I mean, he's got to be considered up there. Tony Gonzalez, I don't even care if he retires this year. Next year in top 5 tight ends, he'll still be on the list, even if he's sitting on a couch somewhere. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
Gronkowski, when he's healthy, he's out there. Vernon Davis, of course, most people around here love Vernon. He's a top 5 tight end. But Julius Thomas is in that discussion without a doubt. I mean, he's 6'5", I think 230 pounds. He's got speed. He's got great hands. He's got box-out ability. He used to play basketball.
The only thing I have a question about Julius Thomas is how is he going to, no matter what happens in the Super Bowl, how is he going to approach the offseason and the preseason next year, this coming up one? Because that's how you're going to tell whether he's going to be an elite tight end.
You mean like if he's too selfish, like he did too much this year?
Basically, is he going to end up like Kellen Winslow, or is he going to be Jimmy Graham?
No, I'm completely with you, and I forget the phrase someone used, but I think it was Aaron Rodgers. He said after the Super Bowl, when you win a Super Bowl, it becomes a lot more about you rather than about the team. Like, I'm a Super Bowl champion, I'm going to go out and get mine, rather than I'm going to come back and do it again for the team.
It's easy to forget that it was the whole team that got you there.
It was the whole team that did it. And I think Aaron Rodgers was talking about the cornerbacks. I believe Charles Woodson, I think it was the year after Charles Woodson had kind of turned into a little bit of a selfish player. But I think that happens more often than not in the NFL.
Was that when he went to from the Raiders to the... No, that's Larry Brown. He went to the Cowboys to the Raiders. Never mind.
No, because I think that happens more often than not. I think you bring up a good point. Julius Thomas is a perfect candidate for that. I mean, he was an unknown coming into this year. No one knew about him.
Yeah, and if he blows up on Sunday with 10 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns or something like.
Day 1, week 1, he has 2 touchdowns in the opening game against the defending Super Bowl champions. I think he's a perfect candidate for that. I hope not. I don't think he is. I think he has the right demeanor. I think he knows that Peyton Manning has done absolute wonders for him.
Oh yeah, I mean if you don't realize that 80% of your stats this year is because Peyton Manning
Peyton Manning's brilliance.
Is the orchestra, or the maestro, sorry.
And you said it. I mean, I just got through saying that they have weapons on defense, but no one has more weapons on offense than the Denver Broncos. Their biggest weapon is that thing you were just talking about, Peyton Manning's mind. It has nothing to do with his body or throwing arm or where he places. It's his mind. He could pick apart a defense like anyone. I mean, he's arguably the best guy to have up at the line, making audibles, making changes, reading the defense. He's brilliant. I mean,
he's so brilliant that we make fun of it now.
Exactly.
You know, the whole I was gonna say the whole Omaha thing.
He's doing it for a reason. That's part of his reading the defense. That's part of him communicating to the rest of his offense. He's brilliant. I mean, when it comes down to that, he'll know exactly where to put his weapons against Seattle's weapons. And I think it comes down to who has more in the arsenal. And I think Denver has more in the arsenal. You said it. You're picking Denver. I'm picking Denver for sure. Seattle has a chance, but this is going to come down to, can Seattle's defense slow down Denver's offense enough so that their offense can stay in the game? And I don't think that happens because no one's stopping the Denver offense. No one's going to stop. It's like Michael Jordan. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. You can't stop Peyton Manning. You can only hope to contain him.
And if you're a Seahawks fan, right?
Yeah.
I swear I saw that at least one Seahawks fan on social media say this, and I shake my head even thinking about it now. They said, well, we know that we can slow down Peyton Manning. And I'm reading the post here, okay? This isn't me. This is the Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
We know that we can beat and stop Peyton Manning. Do you know how I know this? Because we beat him and dominated him in the preseason
game. Yep. Yeah.
Now think about that out there in podcast land. Think about that.
It's irrational confidence.
What are you talking about? Like preseason. Like no.
You can't rely on that.
Like in the preseason, the one guy that was a really good high school guy who bags groceries in the off season because he can't really find a job. He comes for tryouts in preseason sometimes, okay? And, he tries to kick and make the team. And, there's a movie about the guy on the Eagles that came off the streets. And that's what preseason does, okay? No. They beat him 41-10 or whatever. That means nothing. You know what that means? That means the guys that live in Seattle that are really athletic and they play softball on the weekends at the local, recreational park, and then they, bag groceries at night, they were better than the ones that work in Denver. So the really athletic bad guys from Seattle, they're better than the ones in Denver. That's all that means.
So what you're saying is you're not a fan of preseason NFL football.
In a predictor of what's going to happen in the Super Bowl.
No, and that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's a preseason game. That happened months and months
ago.
If
it was a regular season game.
Yeah.
Case in point, the Giants and the Patriots.
Exactly.
Right? Case in point.
That's a perfect case in point.
But saying all that, that's all the reasons why I think that the Broncos can win.
And I'm right there with you.
Now, on the other hand, not so that people out there in podcasts, so I don't alienate our Seattle Seahawks fans out there. I don't know if there's anyone out there of our fans that are, but, in case there are, I don't want to alienate you. I actually thought about ways in which, what are the ways that the Seahawks can overcome the Broncos? And there are a couple of ways in my mind that the Broncos will lose on Sunday.
What's number one on that list? What's the biggest way the Seahawks can win? I want to know yours.
Okay. The number one way the Seahawks can win is if the special teams and their passing game complement the running game. Now, that sounds really simple. I'd say that's two ways, right? So the first way I just said, that's the obvious, hey, coach speak, our three phases of the game. But the way they have to win is if Marshawn Lynch runs for 275 yards,
ding, ding, ding,
scores 3 to 4 touchdowns, gets 10 balls caught for 86 to 90 yards, and scores maybe a touchdown or two. Literally, if they don't fire the gun often and frequently or whatever, you're not gonna win.
Yep.
I knew that Sean behind me was kind of biding, like not saying anything because he's like, well, he said 2 ways.
I knew you were gonna get there.
And that's why I started with the other way because
Yes.
that's the most unsatisfying answer was the first way.
Mm-hmm. But it's true.
But the second way is really, I mean, honest. All jokes aside.
Beast mode has to be a beast.
Yeah, I was saying all jokes aside. That's the only way that the Seahawks win.
Yep.
Is if Marshawn Lynch gets fed the ball over and over and over and over again, and that doesn't mean hand the ball off to him.
Mm-hmm.
Screen pass, middle screen, bubble screen, swing pass, draws, what outlet, whatever.
Anything.
You want to run the option with Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch? Do it.
Get him the ball.
You could probably do it. Come on, put his backup in, run the wing T sweep, do it. But don't do what you've been doing against the NFC in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Don't pass the ball.
Yeah, just use that as a backup.
If out of all the teams that you guys have faced, and by you guys I mean Seahawks, if there was any time to feed beast mode, to have Skittles raining from the stadium seats, it's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It's against the Denver Broncos defense, which is porous against the run. Yeah, they stopped New England, but come on. I love you, LeGarrette Blount, but you're not convincing me that you went 1 week, 4 touchdowns, and then the Broncos were going to be surprised by you.
LeGarrette Blount ain't Marshawn Lynch.
No. They may look like each other, and
may
the hair,
be
and the body size,
yeah.
and we both seen both of them leap over defenders.
Yep.
But there's only one Marshawn Lynch.
One beast
and
mode.
If you have any questions about beast mode, go on YouTube.
Look it up. Just type in beast mode.
and seriously, type in beast mode and just take out 2 runs.
Yep.
One a couple years ago against the Saints,
Yep.
the birth of beast mode.
Yeah, the birth of beast mode.
And the other one, not as impressive, but just as devastating, the run last week against the 49ers.
Against the Niners.
And I saw that live.
Yep.
Both of them I saw it live.
Yep.
The first one I thought was, wow, that's funny. The second one was like, wow, oh, I'm so angry. But either way, beast mode.
It's beast mode. It's beast mode.
And, I mean, Marshawn Lynch grew up, in the NFL grew up, playing in Buffalo.
Ugh, what a terrible place to grow up.
So if you think Bronco fans, that Marshawn Lynch doesn't like the cold, and you can hit him, and he doesn't like that contact, you're kidding yourself.
Think again.
He
Denver.
played in Buffalo.
Yep.
Way colder than this in Buffalo right now. Than 38 degrees, 27 low.
Yeah. He's poised. I mean, and you said it. The first way you brought up that if they get their passing game going and special teams helps them out. Yeah, I mean that's a backwards way of looking at it.
And by saying that, I mean Marshawn Lynch gets about 140 yards on the ground, maybe like 45 in the air, and like 1 or 2 combined touchdowns. And then Russell Wilson has to go at least 235, no interceptions, no turnovers, no fumbles. He doesn't have to even get a touchdown. Just 225, 235, drive down the field, let Housea get his field goals, and let the punt return team be whatever they are the whole year. The least amount of yards allowed in the history of football, whatever it was.
You lost me at Stephen Housea field goals. If Seattle's kicking field goals,
I'm just saying that's why the defense. I'm just saying if the defense can hold Peyton Manning to 21 points, I'm sorry, folks. When I laugh at that, it's not that I'm disrespecting their defense. It's
Peyton Manning.
Literally in my mind, Peyton's so close to his second title that I can't see how. I mean,
it's not going to happen. He's going to score more than 21 points. And for the Seahawks to win, I think they need to hold him under 28 points. And I just don't think it's going to happen.
You know what the outlier game is going to be? Because you know how 999,000, but whatever. The one time that's going to be different is there's going to be a shootout, and Peyton Manning's going to have 400 yards. Hold on for a second. 400 yards and like 4 touchdowns and no picks. And he's going to lose the game because somehow Marshawn Lynch is going to have 5 total touchdowns. We're going to take a real quick break. I'll be right back, okay? Hold on, guys. See you on the other side. Sorry, Sean. What? No, we're recording for a podcast.
Sorry, still. Fuck. Anyway, when are you done in here?
We're actually almost done, like
10, 15 minutes?
15, 20 minutes, yeah.
Podcast land, that's what happens. Yeah.
Hey. Now you see behind the scenes. Hey, sorry about that. That was a mid-break break. You know what? I probably even said that wrong. Anyway, that's podcast land, folks in YouTube land that are watching this right now. But what was I even talking about?
Peyton Manning's brilliance.
Yes, that's right. Peyton Manning's brilliance versus what Seattle would need to do in case they want to win.
A whole lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say a whole lot. They have to do a whole lot, and they have to play a perfect game.
Yep.
I almost view this in the same line of like when, and I know that I'm a Niner fan, so I'm just gonna, the Niners and the Carolina Panthers, where, the Panthers defense had to keep the Niners offense grounded and out of the end zone so that the Carolina Panthers could move the ball and score just enough points to beat them because the Niners had enough of defense to, hold them down. They didn't do that, and they ended up losing by 10 or whatever it was, and the backbreaker was in the third quarter. I think it happens earlier. I think the Broncos get out to that 10-0 lead like they had against New England, and I think Peyton's eyes just get really big, and by halftime, it's one of those 21-3, 21-10 kind of games, and the Denver Broncos just kind of three-headed monster kind of salted away,
Yeah, I think Denver has to get out early. I think they have to score on their first drive just to send a message like, you can play really good defense, but we're still going to put up points, even if it's a field goal to start off the game. They have to score on their first drive and then play strong defense and get it started. Now, regardless, if Seattle gets the ball first, then they have to get a 3-and-out or a stop early and then score. But I think Denver has to send a message early in the game because the longer they let Russell Wilson get confidence, the longer they let Marshawn Lynch out of the cage and run wild. That offense I can see it happening where that offense can put up some yards, move the chains, and contain the ball because that's one way you beat Peyton Manning is to take the ball out of his hands. I can see that happening, but if Denver puts them away early, like you just said, a 21-3 halftime lead, I don't see any chance in hell that Seattle can come back from a halftime lead like that. So I think it has to happen early for Denver.
I agree because, no offense to Denver's or Seattle's defense, but if Seattle has a 21-3 lead at halftime, I'm pretty sure a lot of America is not going to count out the Broncos because the Broncos I feel like are made to come back from that deficit more so than the Seahawks are.
They are.
So we'd be surprised, super surprised if it was 21-3 Seahawks at halftime. But there'll be a lot of people out there who wouldn't turn off the Super Bowl to be like, oh, that's over. But I feel like if it was 21-3 Broncos up, there's a lot of portion of America that would just turn it off and be like, that was an interesting game while it lasted. Those Seahawks were a nice story. Oh well.
Well, they still have commercials to watch.
Oh, that's true. It's
always fun.
And which actually, since it's a foregone conclusion because we already said who we're going to win, I'm going to ask you. Do you look forward to? I know when the Giants are in it, you're looking forward to watching the Giants.
Oh hell yeah!
But on neutral teams when they're in the Super Bowl, are you looking forward to more watching a highly competitive spectacle of fine sporting contests or whatever, or are you excited about the plethora and the batch of new commercials?
Can't believe you just asked me that. Cannot believe it. I love both, but I'm a football fan. I want a good game. There's going to be a few good commercials.
No, I know.
And
I feel like anyone like me and you or anyone that would be on this podcast as a guest, we would pick the game.
Yeah, but I like good commercials in the game. I think it's fun.
A lot of good long-lasting commercials have come out of the Super Bowl commercials as well.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons they pay so much money to have a 30-second ad run in a 20-second timeout.
It's crazy. I think it's like $3 million a minute now.
It's unbelievable.
Because I remember when the first commercial paid $1 million, and it was like, oh my god, it's $1 million. What
are they doing?
And now it's like for every half a minute, it's $1 million or something weird like that.
America.
America.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
No, I'm much more excited.
No, we're
for
just
football.
kidding, guys. We're just kidding, guys.
And I've seen a bunch of neutral games. I've been lucky enough to see 2 New York Giants Super Bowls in my lifetime. But no, it's much more about the football for me. There was Steelers Cardinals not long ago. I was excited.
That was actually a pretty good. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to bring up a team that's not in the Super Bowl. They haven't been in the Super Bowl since 1999. I believe it's 99. But do you think if you're a Rams fan right now, that you're kind of getting a little antsy and jealous because the other three teams in the NFC West have now appeared in a Super Bowl since the last time you guys appeared, and you lost that last time?
I think every team in the NFL is antsy.
Well, no. I mean, I
understand.
understand that, but as like an ownership group for the Rams, shouldn't you feel a little bit more pressure now that like the Seahawks now have made it, the Niners the year before, the Cardinals were very competitive making a playoff push, and you have an injured Sam Bradford. You don't have any really weapons. Like
your left tackle just got surgery.
I mean, things aren't looking up for the Rams, and that's the only team really in the West that really aren't looking up, you know? Cardinals are looking to win like 11, 12 games next year.
Yeah,
anyway.
No, I think you're right about that. I think St. Louis should feel a little bit put off that all these other teams in their division have made Super Bowls, but I don't think the rest of the NFL cares.
For sure.
Seattle's happy to be where they are.
So,
Denver's happy to be where they are.
So, after that hard, the hard-hitting coverage right there, we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask some funnier questions, or a little bit more, whoa, this is kind of ironic type of things.
Awesome.
The Broncos are rumored to be wearing their orange, old school, the orange and blue jerseys. Now, if you know the history of the Broncos, they lost the first 4 Super Bowls, and they've won their last 2 that they've been in. So they're 2-4 in the Super Bowl. Those orange jerseys. Now, the 2 that they won were in the really like the new uniform style with the white Bronco on the helmet with the like darker blue, and the one looks kind of more I guess new age. They're 2-0 with those. They are 0-3 in the orange jerseys. Do you think they should not wear the orange jerseys out of fear that the superstition of those jerseys will hold true?
To quote the great Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. No, I don't think this. I don't think this plays in anything. I think the orange jerseys are cool. I think their fans like the orange jerseys.
You think it's time to get the hex off of those orange jerseys and get a win column in there?
Yeah, I mean if it's
tally one in the win column.
Yeah, if they win one of those, I think it has very little to do with the jerseys. I think it's the quarterback who's wearing the jersey. They won 2 Super Bowls with John Elway wearing those blue jerseys, and they're going to win one, presumably with one of these orange jerseys with Peyton Manning wearing the orange jersey.
Now here's
I don't read much into that.
Here's a question then.
Yeah.
Do you think that John Elway chose to wear those orange jerseys so that he himself could be a part of the Broncos while the Broncos won, potentially, in those orange... You know what I'm saying? Because he was 0-3 as a player in those jerseys.
Oh, you're killing me with that. Sure, John Elway was the key player in them choosing the orange jerseys over the blue jerseys. I have no idea.
Oh, man.
The orange jerseys are fun, and they're cool, and they're bright, and they're neon. It's going to be cold, it's going to be snowy, hopefully, and, it'll look cool. But, no, I don't read that far into it. I think they're cool jerseys. I'm glad they chose the orange. I think they
me
look
too.
Neat,
It's good. It's good for a retro look.
Exactly. It brings a little bit more color to the Super Bowl. So, no, I don't read too far into the superstition of the jerseys.
Oh, man. You know what, guys? I have to apologize for myself this week. This week on Monday, I was mentally prepared to do football, and then there was the weird interruption that you just saw on the video. Somebody else was talking to me about that, and like
all a part of the job.
We started with tennis. I'm not used to that either. It's. I drove home. I drove back from San Jose today, so
it's a wacky day.
It's kind of a wacky day for me. It's my day off. Thank goodness I can recalibrate after this.
There you go.
Maybe is there any sports on today? No, right? Oh man,
there's some basketball on tonight.
Is there some basketball on tonight? Some college basketball.
There's both. I think there's some NBA tonight. I think Durant's in action tonight. It's always fun watching Durantula play.
Okay, for sure. But the final thing I want to end with on the Super Bowl is, do you think it gets played on Sunday?
Oh.
Or do you think okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, and this was brought up not long, I think a couple hours ago I saw on SportsCenter that Goodell did an interview, and he said there are contingency plans that if the weather looks as bad as it looks that it's going to be on Sunday, they might move it to Saturday. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll move it to Monday. I think that's crazy, but I think they'll they'll consider moving to Saturday. I think that's nuts, honestly. You know what? It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
People have bought tickets. They know what they're getting into. The
Yeah.
players know what they're getting into.
Yeah, and it's football.
It's football. You play the game on Sunday. You know what? If it's terrible weather, then you learn a lesson. Don't have the Super Bowl outdoors in the middle of New York or New Jersey, the Meadowlands. That brings me to another thing. I'll get back to your question. The Super Bowl is not being played in New York. It's not being played in Manhattan. It's not being played where Madison Square Garden is. The Super Bowl is being played in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Okay? That ain't New York. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the middle of swampland. And it gets cold and windy as hell out there. Take it from me, I've been there in the cold.
But
it's a
hold
cold
on,
place.
let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
Can you not give them a Super Bowl after building that stadium?
Oh,
you need to generate that revenue. You know what I mean?
I was lucky enough to be at MetLife Stadium. I saw a Giants-Jets preseason game.
Ooh.
I believe this was last year.
Is it as nice as it looks on TV?
It's gorgeous.
Nice.
It's a gorgeous monstrosity. I mean, that place is humongous, and it was built as a cathedral for football. I mean, the seats go all the way up so everyone can see the action. It's a beautiful field.
Nice.
I'm glad.
So it could theoretically generate as much noise as what was it? The Seattle.
I guess I don't know. Seattle was built differently, but no, it's a gorgeous stadium, and I'm glad that the Giants and the Jets got a Super Bowl in that stadium. But going back to your question, you got to play this game on Sunday. I think this is part of the reason they chose to play in New York because they knew it was gonna be cold. I don't think they knew to what extent or what kind of snowstorm is coming, but. I mean, to move the Super Bowl to a Saturday in and of itself, it's Super Bowl Sunday, not Super Bowl Saturday. It's off tradition. And also...
People argue it's Super Bowl weekend. No, it's not.
Yeah. And you're also admitting that what you did earlier in the season was wrong.
Super Sunday.
Because I think there was that 2-week stretch there where that game that the Eagles and the Lions played where you could barely even see the players, let alone the
But you know
lines
what?
on the
You
field.
know what? That was the most talked about game that week. Because
That's
it
my point.
looked so fun,
That's
and
exactly
like
my
everyone
point.
was talking about, it reminded me of like me going out in my childhood and playing in the park with my friends.
Exactly.
You know, like
Exactly. And, you never want the Super Bowl to be decided by weather. You want it to be decided by the players on the field. You know what? They added weather into the mix this year. Deal with it. Don't move the game. You know what? And as of right now, the forecast doesn't look so bad, so it's playable. But you play the game on Sunday. You play the game in the conditions. If it snows, that's great. The fans will always remember it as the snowy Super Bowl in Jersey. Let them play. Open up the gym, coach. Let them play. Okay, Coach Carter.
You know what? Chanting to let them play. That's so funny because on MLB Network this week, I saw Bad News Bears back in training, and then that's the one right before the one they go to Houston and they start chanting let them play.
Yeah.
And guys out in podcast land, if you don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, shame on you.
See the movie.
And second of all, go Google the Bad News Bears 1980s.
Not Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, 1980s. Walter Matthau and, oh my God, I forget his name. The guy that looks like Remington Steele.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Anyway, just Bad News Bears back in training, and then just the Bad News Bears.
Let them play.
But from the 80s.
Let the boys play.
Exactly. Let them play. And if you watch that, you'll know exactly what our reference is coming from. Let them play.
Yep. Well, my reference is Coach Carter, but I like your reference too, the Bad News Bears.
You know what? Coach Carter was a little bit more current. Maybe our podcast listeners, would know that more. But
hopefully,
I'm trying to give you guys some history lessons. Okay.
Say the track team, Coach.
History lessons.
Nor is it the debate team. Love that movie.
Oh man. Okay. Well. Oh man. So when we come back next week, I feel like that's the end of our show this week.
Well, we're both taking Denver.
We always
what do you think?
I'm all discombobulated here. All right, we're both taking Denver. I think Denver.
How many points is Denver going to score?
I think Denver gets out to a 21-10 halftime lead, and they end up winning 35-24.
Okay.
Because I think Seattle just enough to keep it that close in the second half, but just, once again, just like the New England thing, once they get down by 10 or so, they're just not good enough at that moment of the time against this team to make up that deficit.
All right. I like that.
And I think Peyton Manning throws for 360 to 400 yards, three touchdowns or so, MVP.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you on that. I don't see Seahawks scoring 24 points.
No?
I don't know. I'd say the Broncos 31. Mm-hmm. I think somewhere around there. I think Peyton goes for for 3 or 4 touchdowns, maybe a running touchdown in there. But I like 31.
Say a running touchdown?
Not for Peyton Manning.
I
mean like a hand, like the 1 yard handoff he does to Demonte Ball. I can see 31. I can see 35. I think 35 is a little bit too much against Seattle's defense. I give them some respect. I'd like 28 to 35, somewhere in that range. 17 for the Seahawks, maybe 20. I doubt 20, but maybe 17.
Two Marshawn Lynch touchdowns?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout, and I also don't think, even if the scoreline looks bad, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. Seattle's not going to give up. I mean, they're going to keep fighting until the final whistle, and I know that's coach speak, but they're that kind of defense where they're going to take it personal if the Broncos are scoring points, and they're going to get after them. And, I don't think that'll amount to a victory, but it's not. This is not going to turn into a bloodbath. It's not going to turn into a mockery. This defense is too good. They have too many egos on this team, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have an ego.
Maybe while I think I'm being impartial on my picks, maybe deep down inside my brain, pick that kind of score because I'm really still bitter about the NFC Championship game.
And I'm sure you are, and I'm sure most Niner fans are, and I'm sure Richard Sherman's public enemy number one for you guys. But I give Seattle a little bit of credit, a little bit of respect. Their defense is really good, but you know what? It's Peyton Manning. He's brilliant. He's got weapons. He's got healthy weapons. Welker's healthy enough. And Russell Wilson, his time is going to come. I mean, this is the second year he's in the Super Bowl. I know Cap was in there last year, and those two are two young quarterbacks. But Russell Wilson's a good quarterback, and he'll be around for a while. This is Peyton Manning's time. This is his time to shine. He's going to, you know what, I don't know if he's going to retire. That question came up today. I don't know if this is his last year, but if it is, even if it isn't.
Don't retire, Peyton Manning. I have you for fantasy football.
Yeah,
you're one of my keepers.
But my only
stay
point,
healthy.
My only point in that is that it's going to be a good game, and he's going up against a great defense. But to anyone out there who wants to criticize Peyton Manning, watch this game and savor it because it
might be the finest performance.
It could be the last time we see him. It could be the last time we see him on this stage.
Well, I mean, even if it's not the last time, we could literally be seeing like the epitome of what could happen if Peyton has almost a perfect season.
Exactly. And I can't wait. I've loved watching him play for years, and this year was an extra treat. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this game. You as a Niner fan, me as a Giant fan, we really don't have that much of a rooting interest in this game. I mean, I'm
actually
Seattle,
really intrigued to see how it plays out.
Me too. And you know what?
Probably the first time in a long time since I've been intrigued to see how it plays out with two teams I really don't care about.
Yeah, without your team. And I think the Packers Super Bowl, I was intrigued to know because I like Aaron Rodgers a lot. But this one, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a great game. People tune in, whether it's Saturday, whether it's Sunday. I hope it's Sunday. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm sure the commercials will be great. But you're going to be treated to a good football game. It's the number one seed in the AFC against the number one seed in the NFC. You can't ask for much more. Best offense against best defense.
Hasn't happened since 1990.
Since 1990. That's a while. So watch this game. Watch the brilliance of Peyton Manning. Watch the brilliance of Seattle's defense, and just enjoy it. You get to a point. I'm not that old. You're not that old, but we've seen enough sports to where you get to the championship round, and your team's not in it, and you kind of just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like you just said, there's enough to care about in this game to actually watch and get invested in it. But just enjoy it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy this game. I'm going to enjoy Peyton Manning for however long we get to see him for the rest of his career. And I think he goes out on top. I think he wins this game.
I agree.
And I hope he ends up with the MVP and an interview with whoever's on the podium at the end.
And he gets to say, I'm going to Disneyland.
I'm going to Disneyland.
Man, Disney has a market, like a racket in that market,
Yep, they've got it down pat.
So anyway, we both picked the Broncos. Sean thinks it's going to be a little closer than I do. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a runaway.
I think we're both around the 10-point mark.
Yeah, 11 point mark.
Yeah.
I guess I'm more guessing a higher scoring game
you like
than you're a lower score. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
That's where we differ.
So that does it for the Super Bowl preview here in the basement. You are once again listening to In the Basement with Sean and the Heckler. I am David D.K. Kim. They call me the Heckler. And the man behind me, if you're watching YouTube, we're waving at you right now, is Sean Steimel. And once again, another show comes to a close. We're gonna say bye now. Next week when we come back here in the basement, we're sure to recap what happened in the Super Bowl, what we saw, what we liked, what we were confused about, what we didn't like. Our observations, our longing questions. If we could talk to the coaches, why they did certain things.
I'm sure we'll have those questions.
And other than that, like Sean said, I'm sure we'll have a mid-season or almost mid-season NBA review recap.
Depends on how long we go on NFL, but
that's true. Depending on how long, we'll try to hit some NBA up, and then on top of that, if we have more time, we might talk some college basketball. There's no promises on that really.
Yep. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. And once again, we're on SoundCloud. We might be on YouTube from now on. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. It's all up to you guys, really. I'm going to upload the video on YouTube. I'm going to upload this audio onto SoundCloud, and probably take into another endeavor about iTunes, maybe sooner than later. Who knows about that, though?
And you guys, if we put this on YouTube, you got kind of a look into what we do here. DK does quite a bit for the show. I kind of just sit off to the side. And I bring my voice. I bring some notes.
And also along those lines, he has more notes and paper. I free form, no hands.
We're a team. We're a team. There's a give and take here. DK does a lot of the hard work. I bring.
I don't know if you call it hard, but okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good team here.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Another week of In the Basement with Sean and the Heckler.
See you guys.
And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.